beloved Nacho, Ben Leber, at Nacho Leber, via Twitter. 3 to 4:30 weekdays, Twin Cities Live. Vikes Bites coming up second from now. That is Nordo led as Ben joins the equation now. It's starting. I can't speak for you, but it's starting to go fast. Like training camp next week, preseason simulcast at the Giants a month from Saturday, the State Fair in a month and small change. Are you ready to rock and roll, beloved Nacho? Because it's about set to put the pedal to the professional metal.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I don't love the fact that it feels like it's the end of summer whenever we start this preseason stuff.
Yep.
But I am very excited for all the same reasons the fans are excited. It is football season. It feels great. We know that fall's the best time of year around here. And we have, nationally, one of the most compelling training camps and storylines around the country.
Yes.
So I'm excited to be a part of that.
Bikes Bites, provided by
the good people at Kinmount Exteriors, Paul, Craig, and Clay. They are massive Vikings fans, and you can learn more about window siding, roofing, and decks at kinmountexteriors.com. And you know what? They're big Vikings fans, and they're as curious as we are about one of them big national storylines, the quarterback competition. This is a couple days old, but we haven't had you in studio since this aired. But Ian Rappaport talking about the quarterback competition, and that could last a lot longer maybe than anybody thinks. Listen to this.
They have their quarterback battle as well. Is it Kyler Murray? Is it J.J. McCarthy? That is going to be going on throughout camp, through the preseason games, right up to the start of the season. Obviously has wide-ranging ramifications for the organization. But who ends up being their starter will go a long way in determining just how these Minnesota Vikings end up doing.
So, gentlemen, we've talked about this at length, and we've hit every angle, and now we could all probably concede just open up camp. Let's see the reps. Let's see how the cards fall.
If Ian is right, that's the first time somebody with a respected name has said something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
And that is, yes. So while you were whale watching, this is what Ian Rappaport was setting the stage for. And so the idea, as we've talked about, is, man, we'd really love to see this thing get figured out early, quickly in camp. So we're not sweating third preseason game, who's getting the first series type of stuff, or how much the joints will matter in this conversation. What do you guys think about that? If it did play out the way that Ian Rappaport is reporting, that this could go up to the 11th hour of the preseason into games that count, border battle.
If you want to find a surefire way to lose to the Green Bay Packers week 1, have your top 2 quarterbacks cut reps right up to the season. You won't win. I mean, I can't believe what he said is going to be accurate. Can you?
Well, I mean, 11th hour meaning what? I mean, who's 11th hour? Whose timeline are we on here? Are we on what we think is 11th hour? I mean, to me,
11th hour would be Broncos preseason game. Now the preseason's done and the regular season is upon us.
I think if both of them, well, first of all, let's back up. We know that this is Kyler's job to lose. Okay, I don't truly think it's a 50-50 proposition.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Kyler's job to lose.
Would you say it's 70-30 or higher?
Yeah, probably 70-30.
Yeah. I think it's more 60-40.
Okay. I think first of all, the Vikings in the front office, they don't give a rip what the fans think. So we can come up with every timeline that we think and be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Well, you know what? It's up to their comfort level. I think that they are more interested in keeping both quarterbacks engaged for as long as possible.
Yeah.
And they have faith and confidence that 2.5 weeks leading up to said Green Bay game and opening weekend, they can get either one of them ready to play.
That's a good point.
So just because they don't name a starter within the first week or two of preseason, I'm cool with that. I don't think you have to. Now, they may, but I don't think they have to. I would say if they wait until even after that third preseason game is played, if they want to name the starter that following Monday, I think that's plenty of time. I think the more likely timeline is they will probably name the starter probably that week going into the third preseason game, because I don't think either one of them is going to play that game anyway.
Yeah.
And that way they just know, okay, this is what we're dealing with. This is where we're going forward in the next couple of weeks. And it'll probably be, for me, around that timetable, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens after the third preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of a quick add-on to that, does it tell you anything based on when an announcement is made or when it becomes blatantly obvious during camp? So, for instance, Leber, you say, and I'm kind of in line with you, it's 70-30-ish for me, and I like the way you put it. It's Kyler's job to lose. But PA, 60-40. Okay, does it lend to, is there credence to the idea that the longer that this plays out into camp, through joints, et cetera, and we're starting to like, man, I wouldn't mind a little news here, whether or not the team cares that we are looking for the answer. The longer it plays out, maybe that speaks to the 60-40, and it does really require more reps to truly determine off of 10 starts and not a lot of on-field equity. Is JJ actually better than this guy that we brought in for 1.3 and taking a flyer on here? Does it lend to the idea that maybe JJ's winning the competition the longer that this plays out?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to not think that there's going to be a little bit of media warfare being played here within the Vikings organization.
Yeah.
I actually think that would be a little bit of the smart play if they did take this whole thing clandestine and just start floating things here and there. And they might one day say, Kyler's having a really good day and a really good camp. And the next day they're like, boy, JJ, he's just really killing in the classroom. And we're really seeing these things, you know, kind of like what we saw and heard in the OTA period, where it was like they were jockeying for position and one was ahead and one was behind, and, you know, one would make a run and all this other stuff. I think it benefits all parties to, like I said before, keep everybody completely engaged.
But why? I mean, you've said that a bunch of times.
Because I think that, to me, there are indications from both of them that there's a little bit of fragility mentally if they go ahead and just cut the competition, name the starter early in camp, and be like, nope, we're done. Kyler, you're the guy. I worry a little bit about how JJ is going to react. And I would say just the same for Kyler. If they say, look, man, we see it now. We see that JJ is going to be our future, and we have to give him this opportunity. I think given enough time in camp, I could see Kyler being like, well, then let me go. You know, this is a huge year for me. I'm on a 1-year prove-it deal. I'm looking to get another big fat contract. I need to prove it to the league that I can play and play at a high level. I need this year. And if we make that decision early, I'm concerned that he would go by the way of just forcing his way out.
There are two things that have been shared 9 to noon that I'm not backing off on. It's when after that first minicamp, Murray, with respect, was terrible. That first minicamp day. It's about the only way to put it. And I was there both days, and he was better day 2, but the first day he really, really struggled. That's when, after that minicamp, he said, I'm not used to cutting reps.
Yeah.
I'm used to getting the starters reps. Okay, that's fair. But how do we deduce with a complicated playbook that is effective when the scholar of the game is under center and knows where the bones are buried? Know what I mean? It's effective. How like far out of it is he? Or you
right.
know, and also with the the OTAs that I watched or the minicamp that we all watched, I haven't seen Kyler run yet. I don't think anybody has. So I think there are facets to, and you would know this better than anybody, to the offense or the defense, but specifically the offense here. Nobody's going to see until the regular season begins. Some of these zone runs, some of these quarterback keepers. There are things that they will do to put him in a position to build his confidence and kind of nurture it along as he learns the playbook. But Kyler never has been associated with being a scholar of the game. Now, nobody's saying he's dumb, but I'm also, not saying that there's ever been a part of his career where you've heard any coordinator say, boy, he really has wrapped his mind around the tentacles of everything off that play and the playbook and stuff. So he needs to push through that. And I think that's fair. Secondly, I just really, really wish I knew what new general manager Nolan Teasley thought of Kyler Murray.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, again,
he saw a lot of him.
Well, yeah. He saw 8 consecutive losses for Kyler in Arizona and a 2-9 record. And some of his worst games as a pro came against Teasley Seahawks. So that may be more for the long term of the equation. But the joint practices, I think, will settle the bet here. You know, I mean, if you're going to cut the reps between those two during the joint practices against Baltimore, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But don't you believe if you were Kevin O'Connell or if you were Nolan Teasley, I mean, you know, they may have an absolute 10 of 10 convicted answer as to who's going to start against Green Bay. They're just not sharing, and they don't have to share, and that's fine. But those joint practices, that's going to reveal a lot about this conversation, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to reveal a ton because you're going to see a heightened sense of competitiveness. You're going to see a different defense.
Yeah,
it's going to be similar to what you'd see from a week to week to week adjustment period.
Yep,
where both quarterbacks, namely Kyler, because we're kind of focusing on him right now, he's had a whole offseason to learn the offensive playbook, to see Buffalo's defense. He's going to see that in the better part of training camp and see all those improvements. And all of a sudden, a new defense comes in. All right, let's see how you can make adjustments.
Yeah.
Let's see how you can process what they're doing pre-snap. Let's see how you can make the checks and adjustments. It'll be the most game-like that we see, and that will be a period. Well, I think you'll see a little bit more of the scramble, probably not so much the running.
Big time.
But I think you'll see more of the extension of the play and just see him create plays, which will be the X factor. I think that we all know that's how he's gotten a lot of his production in the first 7 years of his career is the dude can just flat out make plays.
Right.
Regardless if you think that he's a cerebral quarterback like a Kirk Cousins or something.
You played against Mike Vick, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Kyler Murray, for my taste, is the best running quarterback I've seen on all 22 since Mike Vick. It's natural.
Is it the throwing and the running, or specifically the running?
Well, the running part. In that, now Vic was bigger than Kyler, but they're both lickety split fast. But it's the natural ability to see the second guy as you're making the first guy miss. And Kyler's eyes are just they're going to be oohs and ahs.
Yeah.
At Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center during these joint practices when, you know, a play breaks down and Kyler has to run for something. It's going to be, his running can be breathtaking, you know, and that's part of the mix. All right. So now, beloved Nachito, say he's on the coaching staff and he's watching back the play. Cool. Oohs and ahs from the crowd. Cool. We just increased 1,000 season ticket sales over the next 2 years. That's all great. But did you happen to see these two guys who were open that Kyler missed? Well, that can't happen. I mean, that part of it can't happen in lieu of the running.
So I 100% agree. I think that's the thing that we're not going to know so much from a fan standpoint. We can maybe kind of guess. But if they go back and watch the film, and let's say that there's 40 snaps in practice that he gets of passing plays, and he's going rogue or breaking the pocket or not, you know, ill-advised scrambling and breaking the pocket when the pocket's not breaking down and getting past reads 1 and 2 because he wants to scramble and run around. He doesn't feel comfortable within the schematics of the offense. If he's doing that on half 20 of the passing plays,
well, then you just signed Justin Fields.
Well, yeah, I'm like that's not probably going to work.
No,
I think when the whole regular season starts, and that's going to drive the receivers nuts. It's going to drive the offensive linemen crazy because you know he's within all of that. He's going to take unnecessary sacks. He's going to put himself in undue risk and danger. And these offensive linemen are be like, dude, we're slide protecting over here, and you're running the other way, and I'm going to get credited for a sack when you're running right into the guy. You know, like I'm blocking with this leverage, expecting this help, and then you dance around and run right into this guy, or don't give us a fair shake. So all of it has to work in sync. And if you know
these preseason games are going to be sweet.
I know, but again, the other thing is, and you mentioned this earlier. We're going to see 10% of the offense.
You mean that is implemented during the? Oh yeah,
you know we'll see. We'll see 10% of what our new outside zone scheme is going to look like.
But it's also you're going to see 5 to 10% of defenses. It's not going to be like Gunther Cunningham in 2009 with the Vikings team you were on. Brett Favre comes in, the whole world's talking about it. And 48 hours later, he's playing a preseason game. Cunningham was like, come on, bro. It's not that easy, okay? And he's zero blitzing Kavika Pittman and everybody to crush this guy It's not going to be like that.
Yes, but I could also see a scenario in which vanilla offense versus vanilla defense, and Kyler kind of struggles because we're not calling plays specific for his skill set. And we're not calling the fancy bootlegs. We're not doing the waggles. We're not getting him outside the pocket. We're not asking to launch the ball down the field. We're not asking him to figure out, this guy's blitzing here. Let's check to this hot. Let's check to this offense and see if we can find a guy wide open. We're not going to see any of that. Yeah. So I could also see a scenario where when it's just pure football out there, and he's not asked to display his athleticism, he might struggle a little bit.
And we're on an island with this man, and it just, I can't say it bugs me. It's not being taken seriously by Vikings fans or whatever, but the best quarterback on the roster right now is Carson Wentz. At this moment, the one who knows the plays best, arm strength good enough, and certainly as good, if not better, than Kyler's. Okay, now, doesn't move. We understand that, but he can move. And I stick by what I said to you the last time we were in here. If Carson Wentz were the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings for 6 games, they'd go 5-1. And I think there are those within that covenant who agree with me. But, is it a 0 that Carson starts?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. But the thing is, I have agreed with you.
This bugs me, man.
This whole thing with Carson, if everything was exactly the same, and you had 30 passing plays in practice or in a preseason game, they got the same protection, they got the same look, and all you did was just replace said quarterback for each play, and they all had the same scenario play out. I bet you we'd walk away with the game with Carson having more passing yards. And more air yards down the field.
Right. While recognizing there's an expiration date on what we're saying.
For sure.
We're not saying 17-game starter. We're saying in patches while you get things squared away with the other guys.
I would say running the offense and throwing with anticipation, he's a better quarterback right now, given all the same scenarios.
Completely agree.
When you were talking about keeping them engaged, at what point, because these guys aren't auditioning for a play. They do their bit, they go home, and they wait to see if their name's on the top of the list on the wall. These guys are aware, right? Like, isn't there a certain, at some point a week into camp, Kyler's got to be aware of where he stands. Do you know what I mean with that? It's like keeping them engaged. What is the responsibility on the players themselves? Because the goal here with this entire thing was to raise the level of the QB room. So if one of them's a malcontent and isn't interested in participating because he feels like he's not in the mix, there's only so much hand-holding that you can do before it's like, here you go, earn the freaking spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's why I think I've mentioned this before that, and this is maybe just a bad phrasing, but I don't really know another way to say it. I think the quarterback battle is very compelling because on one hand with Kyler, I think to me he has to prove that he has the intangibles, and I think with JJ he's got to prove that he has the tangibles.
Yeah,
I think
that's wonderfully said.
I think that JJ has won over the locker room. He's been told by everybody that
McCarthy. You think he has for sure?
Well,
I can't say he's won over Justin Jefferson.
I think that one of his strengths coming out of college and one of his strengths that we heard the first couple years here is he has the it factor.
Yeah.
He has the quote unquote it factor. There's natural innate leadership skills that he has that of course he still has to develop, but that's just kind of part of his being. Whereas Kyler has all the physical tools, and what we've heard from the people in Arizona, he sort of lacks the natural leadership.
The
skills.
tangibles.
That's the intangibles.
Oh, the intangibles, yes.
And so I think when I say like keep guys engaged, I think part of the test is putting Kyler in a situation where he does feel like he's got JJ nipping at his heels. He does feel like he has to win the locker room over with his on-play and off-the-play ability. I want to see how he responds from a leadership standpoint when his mettl's getting tested.
Yeah.
When there's a little bit of doubt creeping in, like, I don't know, do you have this job? Do you not have this job? Are you going to thrive in this situation, or are you going to buckle in this situation? Are you going to bring everybody up in the locker room, or are you just going to go into your own little corner and do your own little Kyler thing and just focus on Kyler? Because in the long run, that's not championship football. Having a quarterback, the leader of your locker room and offense, be somebody that's introverted and only thinks about himself, that's not winning football. And so that's, I think, the other part of this whole formula.
Preach.
And maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I'm not right as well. But
I think it's effective. I think because you talk about McCarthy. McCarthy's aura or it factor means nothing until the tangibles in the on-field. You can't roll in after a 6-sack, 2-interception day and try to pump everybody up on to the next one. It's the tangibles for JJ indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think listen, I'm watching the quarterback deal on Netflix, and I'm just a couple episodes left, and I've always.
Is it good?
I think it's really good.
Yeah.
I think they do a really good job. I think they found 3 very interesting quarterbacks with interesting storylines that all took place last year. I mean, Joe Flacco for sure. I mean, he bounced around on all this other stuff, and then
Flacco's one of the 3?
Yeah.
That's the ball with Baker and Jaden.
Yeah. And then Jaden, I mean, what a guy, right? Yeah. I mean, holy cow. If you didn't know anything about Jaden Daniels, you were going to walk away a huge fan. But, he went through a whole bunch of injury stuff last year, that dislocated elbow that everybody saw on national TV. But my point of all this is there is a little bit of Baker Mayfield and J.J. McCarthy. And I think even Baker will admit that all of that, he kind of oozed this natural instinct to lead and be the leader of the locker room. But he knew that there was an immaturity to the way he approached it. And as he got older in the league, he understood more about himself and how to lead more effectively with that energy.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling that's where JJ's at. He's still so young.
I love that.
But he has to prove it on the field.
Yes.
And that's where I think Baker at times had that opportunity to prove it more on the field. And you saw flashes of like, okay, he can be an NFL quarterback. Well, then if we marry that up with his natural instincts to lead, he's going to be a heck of a quarterback in this league. And I think that's kind of where we see JJ at, is he just needs more time to prove that he can be a consistent player and show those flashes. And then I think those natural leadership skills will really pop.
I dig that.
Vikes Bites, and Vikes Bites is presented by KinMountExteriors.com. Windows, roofing, siding, and decks. Oh my, it's Paul, Clay, and Craig. Get to know them. And they're ready to help you out now. Go to KinMountExteriors.com. 9 to noon continues with Ben Leber after this.
You're listening live to Paul Allen at 9 to noon on iHeartRadio and FM 100.3 KFAN, The Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY.
All right, so outside of the quarterback conversation we just had, what are some things that excite you about Vikings training camp and the battles that will ensue?
I want to see the new run scheme. I want to see Claiborne, because he just, with that speed and the way that we think that this outside stretch can work for him, man, he's got a real opportunity to make some waves for this team at some point in the season. I mean, I would say probably sooner rather than later. In that same room, I'm a little concerned with Jordan Mason and how he fits with this new running scheme.
Why? He's more between the tackles guy?
Well, I mean, I think I don't have to over-explain his running style. We all know what it is. And we have yet to see what this true new running scheme with Frank Smith looks like. But in theory, think about the number of steps you take in that outside zone scheme before you even get to the line of scrimmage versus a downhill run scheme where you have, a lead or an ISO or a power or something like that. You're going vertically downhill north and south. You're getting to the line of scrimmage in just 4 or 5 steps. If you run an outside zone scheme, and if everybody can just picture that in their mind, you're taking 4 4 or 5 steps horizontally at a 45-degree angle
before you plant.
Before you even plant, and then it might be another 3 or 4 steps before you even get to the line of scrimmage. And
can you define zone scheme, like what it looks like? Okay, so you say outside zone. Here's the snap. Quarterback takes it, gives it to Jones, Claiborne, whomever. He heads right. So what is the zone scheme? What's it looking like in front of him?
Well, it's going to be much more horizontal for the offensive lineman. You're going to see a lot more of the wide sort of scooping step versus more of a straight downhill footwork. And we as defensive players, we'd call it sometimes elephants on parade, just because they're big guys. It kind of looks like they kind of turn and they're like kind of running sideways down, and they're going to try to capture guys' outside shoulders. Yeah. And play the angle and leverage game. So how do offensive linemen sell that? It's like you block one way at the line, knowing that you're going to take off to the right. You just immediately just go. Oh. There's no real first contact. Okay. I mean, there might be. It's not like a screen. You might brush the guy in front of you with an arm, knowing that your partner that's coming your direction as well is going to work real hard and strain to get at that angle as well to capture that guy. Mm-hmm. And you might be having to do the same thing. Let's say if you're the offensive guard, you might be really taking the guy that's on the edge, and that's primarily going to be your guy. So you really have to get there. But the tackle might give you a little bit of just like hesitation with that guy. But most of the time, it's going to be much more horizontal. And the running backs are really just looking for creases. I mean, you're trying to truly use your vision to see, like, okay, I know front side, this is where it's supposed to go. But if I see daylight and it's straight downhill, then it's a one cut and get vertical. Wow. And you might be reading your offensive lineman and the angles that they get and the leverage that they get and the capture a guy's shoulder here and there. But then also you have to kind of understand the flow of the second level, the linebackers, and like, okay, are they full flow guys? If they're full flow guys to the play side, well, then probably a backside cutback's going to be there. If they're a little slower and they also know that there's going to be some cutback, well, then you just hit the jets and keep it front side. So it makes it really tricky for the second level defenders of kind of knowing, especially when you have maybe a smaller running back there, like, oh, they're kind of hiding back there, and I don't know which way to go. This sounds tailor-made for Damon Claiborne. For sure. And like, what are some things, whether it's preseason or early regular season, you will look for to determine whether Claiborne gets it, whether he's understanding what's happening with this zone scheme you're talking about and these windows and how to handle them? I think being decisive and committed. Yeah. And I think that's the same for all the running backs, because that's the nice thing about Damon is it's sort of a clean slate for all three running backs. Obviously, the other two come with a lot more equity. Mm-hmm. But, whenever you have a changeover on offensive run philosophy or otherwise, you feel like you get a little bit of a clean slate and everybody gets a fresh look with fresh eyes. If he can be declarative and he can understand with using his vision when to cut and when not to cut, and if his cutback is crisp and tight versus bubbling back out and kind of losing yardage to kind of hit that gap. Oh yeah. Then I think that you're like, oh yeah, this guy's got it. Mm-hmm. This guy really understands. He's very committed to his decision making, because that's the thing. You can't pitter patter. It's not I'm a little look. Just dude, hit it. Yeah. If you see it, then go. If you see a cutback, take it. If you see a little bit of green grass and a little bit of daylight, go now. And I think that is one area where Aaron Jones has done a really good job. Like, he's a little bit like Dalvin Cook, where there's not a lot of space, but he can make something out of that. Yeah. He can just kind of squeeze through there with those skinny hips and give a little bit of a swivel, and all of a sudden you're like, man, that dude just picked up 6 yards on what otherwise maybe Jordan Mason couldn't fit through that little area. How significant or insignificant is a change like this for the offensive line themselves, where now we're asking them, it just kind of sounds like upon the snap, you're racing to a spot. There's not a lot of deception. It's we're going to move ourselves outside and find somebody to put a shoulder into them. How significant or insignificant is that change for the Minnesota Moving Company? In theory, I would think that it helps them play a little bit faster. because you're really just trying to get to an area and a spot. And if they stunt or twist or they bring an extra guy and then like, that's fine. Then I'm just, if they come into my area, I feel like it's a little bit like zone basketball where I don't have to concentrate so much on chasing one single guy around. I just know like, all right, if this guy flashes, I'm just going to take him. So I think in theory, it helps them play a little bit faster. I think their footwork can be a little quicker, a little cleaner. You're not having to second guess a lot of times on some of these gap scheme things. We're like, okay, well, if it's a down and around sort of power scheme, like, well, I know I have to get this guy. Like this guy, I have to go after. I got to ear hole him because if I don't, then this guy's not going to know who to block, and it gets really muddy. So I think it should be a faster, smoother, quicker operation for those 5 guys.
As part of that, I don't know exactly because he's a rookie. I'm just pumped to learn more about Max Bredesen. So, he's different than C.J. Ham was. I don't think he even rushed the ball once during his time at Michigan, very rarely thrown to as well. But physically, he's a few inches taller than C.J. was, and is part of whether it's the run scheme. Is he H-back guy? Is he on the line blocking in some of these instances? Like just Max Bredesen's kind of a guy I'm kind of pumped to learn more about.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting how they went after specifically a guy like this where he's completely and truly fearless when it comes to throwing his body around. I mean, it's really fun to watch him on film throw his body around at all levels of the defense. But I think the thing that makes this work for him, which, again, in theory, we haven't seen it in action yet, at least we haven't as the fans, his ability, because he's faster and athletic than maybe previously we had with C.J. Ham. C.J. Ham was more of a vertical thumper. He could get downhill, he could get north and south, and he could pave a path. Where with Bredesen, you need that speed and athleticism because if you're trying to get out on the edge and capture and take out that first colored jersey, either a defensive end or an outside linebacker or safety that presents itself, well, he's got to get there faster than the running back. And you don't want to mess up that sort of timing and chemistry. So it's pretty important to have a guy like that in the backfield if you're going to run this outside zone scheme that really can match the speed, at least within the first 10 yards of these running backs. So this is not a scheme that I think would fit C.J. Ham very well, but it seems like it's tailor-made for Bredesen.
Lastly, will it be in any way nerve-wracking watching Caleb Banks during training camp? That foot, though. I mean, is it like nerve? Like you don't want to watch something and just be like, oh, yes, got through a rep. Yes. You don't have to worry about Footgate 2026.
Unfortunately, yeah, I think we're all going to have to sweat that. I think, it's going to be really important for him to get through those first few competitive periods of the days of practice where they have the pads on and they're really getting after it in one-on-one drills and pass rushing situations, blitz period where you're really starting to get after it. Those are going to be really important for his mental state of just, okay, got through the offseason. I knew I felt good, but now I really stressed it. I really pushed it. It's changing direction without putting a lot of thought into it. That's going to be really important for him and for all of us fans. Yeah, I think that we are going to have to sweat out.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of eyeballs watching that foot and seeing how his gait is and if he's limping around and if he's like sort of favoring that foot in any way or trying to compensate for that foot. I mean, that'll be some red flags.
See you on TV, Channel 5 today at 3 o'clock. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks so much. Good to see you.
Ben Leber, Twin Cities Live, 3 to 4:30 on the TV today and Thursdays, 9 to noon. It's 10:43. News du Nord is News du Next.
You're listening live.
News du Nord, 9 to noon, brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. Live racing this evening, but you can feel the felt all day, every day at Canterbury Park. CanterburyPark.com for all event details. And truncated edition, but let's get into these Minnesota Twins, losers of 4 straight, and everybody just kind of resigned to the idea of this thing going the wrong way for the rest of the year. Well, they bounced back yesterday. It was a 3-run shot from Brooks Lee that put the Twins ahead 7-4 in the 4th. 4 total RBI for Lee yesterday, and Trevor Larnach added 3 RBI of his own. And a couple more runs in the 8th led to a 10-6, ultimately the final there. So it's a chance today. Bailey Ober went 8 hits, 4 runs. Didn't necessarily love the stat line, but he does come out alive as the Twins find their victory. Now 3 games under 500. But today, Taj Bradley on the mound, the quote-unquote getaway game. It'll be a nooner, 12:10 p.m. first pitch. Gavin Williams for the Guardians. And
that's a nice matchup.
It is a nice matchup. I got to do a little covenant cleanup for myself here. For the last couple of days, what the hell was I reading? Where I thought after the Guardians, they go to the Rays, and then they go to Cincy. I'm just completely out of it. They're home against the Athletics this weekend, so that's totally my bad. And 1:10 p.m. on Sunday, it looks like you're going to get to see Joe Ryan on the mound. But after hosting the Athletics, chance to rack up some W's. A's are terrible. You're hosting Kansas City into next week. So as the trade deadline gets closer, maybe some winnable games for the baseball team. But first things first, go Taj Bradley, get the split today in Cleveland, and then come home with 6 in front of the home fans.
I think Jose Ramirez played yesterday.
I think he just came back from injury, yeah.
Right. I think that was his first game back in at least a month, unless he played the day before.
No, that was his first game back yesterday.
And he had a pretty good game. And he's a key cog for what they do. So you win the Jose Ramirez return game, which is pretty sweet. You're one of the better, I think into the All-Star break, the Twins had scored the most runs in the American League, something like that. So you're whether it's, OPS or scoring runs, the offense has come through mostly. It did again yesterday. It's going to be tough sledding against Gavin Williams today. He's the pitcher where the day we had Derek Shelton on the 9 to noon show, it was a Gavin Williams start at Target Field. And Shelty was like, as long as you lay off his sweeper, that big what would be right to left curveball, because he's right-handed, you'll be okay. Well, then I'm watching the game, and it's sweeper after sweeper after sweeper, and we're just flailing. Yeah. So hopefully they learned from that. But they in low-key fashion kind of need to get today's game.
The Minnesota Lynx, with a matinee affair yesterday, they beat Seattle 86-76. The rookie accolades for Olivia Miles just continue. Just 13 points yesterday. We'll get to maybe why that was the case in a moment. But 6 dimes. I think she's the youngest or fastest player in WNBA history to reach 500 points scored and 150 assists. And I was talking about this a bit while you were gone. Like, Olivia Miles, is she potentially having one of the best rookie seasons in WNBA history? And you look back at what Caitlin did a couple years ago, tremendous year she had. But I believe it was, Candace Parker, yes, 2008. She was Rookie of the Year and MVP that season. And Olivia Miles, 3rd in MVP odds in the WNBA right now. So, but I think, I hate to say it, the MVP idea might be out the window, because emerging from obscurity and from the fog, Nafisa Collier goes from, I don't know when she's going to be back, to, oh, hey, she's probable.
Yeah, she's so cool.
And then she just rolls in with a ho-hum 24-10 game.
Wow.
Yesterday as part of the victory. 9 of 20. We didn't like the shooting percentage per se, but that'll be fine. She'll work that out.
Cheryl got a squad.
But they now, that was their 6th or 7th victory in a row. They're tops in the WNBA. They got their big timer back in Collier, with a big timer in Miles, continuing to grow on the fly. The Lynx have a squad, and they remained victorious over Seattle yesterday. In other news, Patrick Kane, remember him? Remember the stanchion? Remember all of the memories that he made in the city of Chicago?
Retiring?
The Blackhawks and free agent winger Patrick Kane have agreed to a 2-year contract to the value of $8 million.
That's nostalgic.
And at 37, he will indeed return to the city in which he was able to win 3 Stanley Cups. So another player, we were thinking about, maybe Tarasenko's not back. What's Billy G going to do this summer? Ooh, Patrick Kane would be kind of fun. I could forget about all the ways that he hurt our team over the years if he was wearing our sweater. Nope, he's headed back to Chi-Town, and maybe a little finish it out, walk off into the sunset with the team that made him great.
Well, was there any, over the last 2 weeks, any significant Dylan Larkin steam?
Not really.
I mean, the last thing I saw was GM guy for the Wings was like, or there was a report that if we peddle Larkin, we need Boldy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's people are like, what are you, an idiot? Well, no, that's negotiating.
Well,
you start there and come back, because I'm not. I would not rule out closer to the season a Dylan Larkin to the Minnesota Wild trade. I'm not ruling that out.
No, I wouldn't rule it out either. I think the most significant part of it is that Steve Yzerman, the gentleman who Stevie Y who made that quote, he's down. He's out.
That's right.
He's out of the mix, reduced to some advisor role. I forget the name of the guy in the mix. But
you're right.
But now it's just been, since then, it's like, well, is Stevie Y the reason that Dylan Larkin requested the trade? And what does that mean? Does it mean he's back in the saddle? Is Stevie Y merely an impediment out of stubbornness to a Dylan Larkin trade potentially should have already happened?
Interesting.
But things are getting weird all over the place. I think it was Robertson with Dallas signed a 1-year deal. They were trying to figure out, maybe was he a potential trade piece for the Stars, or could a longer contract be consummated? I haven't been reading every Dallas newspaper, but kind of the idea of a 1 and 12-year deal for Robertson, that you're either saying we got to figure this out in a year to get you term and cash, or is that a movable contract next NHL deadline in February or whenever it is? So, that's where we're at, man. Larkin's still available. Right. We are who we are. We're going to see Zuki with the Kings and this hole here, and Midsy's up in Calgary and all that. So not a lot's changed there. But we are excited for hockey season. There's no doubt about that. Excited to watch Wild hockey this season as well. And that's how we'll put a wrap on News du Nord, brought to you by Canterbury's Card Casino.
And Mitch Helgerson, Chief Revenue Officer with the Minnesota Wild, will amplify that conversation around the corner via 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN.
This is 9 to noon on The Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by